Well, I've been struggling with kind of being tempted by like unhealthy food at work, particularly like because people will bring in like snacks or something, or they'll have like a celebration with like cakes, and like at every meeting it seems like there's like a temptation, and I really struggle with like feeling like I really want to have some, but then I feel kind of guilty if I do have some, so it's kind of something I'm struggling with right now.
So it's a problem for you because you're feeling guilty after you eat some?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like I'm trying to kind of just be healthy, so then when I see that, like, when I see that food, that temptation, something that I really want, it kind of makes me feel anxious because I know that it's going to be hard for me to resist. And then if I do end up eating it, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but if I do, I end up feeling like guilty, and I feel like why couldn't I just resist it?
So when you see all this unhealthy food at work, you're being really tempted, and you're feeling anxious and you're feeling guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
So in CBT we talk about the way our thoughts interact with our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of thoughts are going through your head when you see the food?
Like, oh, I really want that, like, oh, I shouldn't really have it, but what's just this one time if I have it, things like that. I'm feeling like I just want it, but I have no self-control.
So your thoughts are telling you that you have no self-control.
Yeah, kind of feeling like I can't, I just don't, like I'm having anxious thoughts and I just don't want to tolerate, like, having that temptation. I know that I won't be able to, like, I'm kind of telling myself, like, you won't be able to, like, resist it.
Mm-hmm. So you're having these thoughts that are telling you you can't resist the food, you have no self-control, and all of these thoughts are making you feel anxious. And it's almost also that you're telling yourself you can't tolerate this anxiety, that you're not going to be able to resist the food because you just can't tolerate having that anxiety, that anxious feeling.
Right. And it kind of makes it worse than when I know, like, I might anticipate, like, something that's going to be coming up with, like, another opportunity with food, and then I'm even more anxious, so.
You can see how that would be really hard for you. So, where did you get this idea that you have no self-control? Do you have any evidence to show that you have no self-control?
Well, I never really thought of it like that, but I guess, like, I just really like food, and whenever food is involved, I feel like I don't have self-control. Although, I guess, now that I really think about it, it's not really true, because there are definitely times when I've, like, limited myself if I go out to eat, or, on holidays or something, if I don't want to overdo it. Like, I've definitely had times where I do resist.
Were there times at work where you saw unhealthy food and you did resist?
Yeah.
And when was the last time that happened?
Probably last week, actually. Someone brought in, like, some pastries, and I had brought a lot of snacks with me for my lunch, like healthy snacks, so I was like, you know what, even though I might want that one, maybe I should just eat my own snacks, and I kind of was able to resist it. But maybe that was just like a one-time thing.
Okay, well, just last week you were able to resist it. Is there any other evidence that you do have self-control and that you are able to tolerate these anxious feelings?
I mean, I think I don't really feel anxious a lot. Like, I don't really have other times where I'm feeling like I can't control myself. Like, in other situations with, like, other than food, like, if I go out with friends, like, and have a drink or two, like, I don't always, like, I don't go overboard. I can limit myself with that. So I guess, like, I really can tolerate, like, I can, like, limit myself or have self-control.
Okay, so in other situations you have been able to limit yourself, and just last week you limited yourself with food.
Right.
But there are times when you feel like you just can't tolerate the anxiety and you have no self-control.
Right.
Can you tell me more about those times? What evidence do you have that your beliefs are true, that maybe you couldn't tolerate the anxiety and you wouldn't be able to resist?
I guess it's almost like I just feel like that anxiety, and I'm telling myself, like, oh, you're not going to be able to stand it. And then I just kind of go for it. Like, it's like almost like I don't even really stop and think. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
So these thoughts, I can't stand it, I can't control myself, are causing you to feel anxious and guilty, and then all of a sudden, before you have time to stop and think, you're eating whatever that unhealthy food is.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you believe, after we've talked about times you have had self-control, times you haven't, do you really believe that you don't have any self-control?
No, I mean, I guess it's really not true when I think about it, because there definitely, like I said, there are some times when, even at work, when I see foods that I would want to eat, that I really do resist it.
Okay, so the times you do resist it, what kind of thoughts are going through your mind? What are you telling yourself that allows you to resist it?
I guess I tell myself, like, you can do it, like, you can resist it, you don't need that. You can eat something else that's healthier, like a healthier option, or kind of distract myself if I can, if I'm able to think about it.
Right, so you have thoughts that encourage yourself, that remind you of the times when you have been able to tolerate resisting, that remind you that you do have self-control.
Right.
So what might you tell yourself next time you're faced with an unhealthy food and you want to make a choice to eat healthy?
What might I say to myself? I guess I would say, like, you can tolerate the anxiety, and you do have self-control, and you can resist, like, you can do it. Because I've done it before, and, it's not like it's impossible, like, I have done it before, and it's not, and maybe that'll even, like, put less pressure on myself.
And if you tell yourself those things, do you think you'll still feel anxious and guilty?
I won't feel guilty, because if I actually don't, it's funny, because it's like I think, like, the eating it will make me happy, but in some weird way, but then it doesn't, and ends up making me feel guilty in the end. So I'd probably feel better about myself if I resisted.
Great. So your new thoughts would be telling yourself that you actually have had self-control before, and that you can tolerate these kind of anxious feelings. I would say even to go as far as, it's not always going to be easy, right? You don't want to set yourself up for failure by saying you can always control these things, you can always have self-control, and you can always tolerate them.
Right.
But maybe give yourself a more balanced thought. Like, it might be hard, it might be frustrating to have to look at all this unhealthy food and see other people eating it and not be able to eat it, but I can tolerate that.
Right.
Do you think you could tell yourself that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually really helpful, because a lot of times I'll see, like, other people eating, and I'm like, oh, it's so annoying, because it's like, why is it okay for someone else or not for me? And I just, like, that just makes me even more anxious. But if I tell myself, like, if I admit that, yeah, it is frustrating, it is annoying, then, like you said, it's kind of giving myself a balance. I don't have to, like, set myself up to kind of feel like a failure if I'm not able to tolerate it.
So I'd like to give you a way to practice this. If you could, maybe about 5 minutes a day, imagine yourself in that situation. Imagine yourself at work, someone brings something unhealthy, whether it's a cake or a pizza, whatever is most tough for you to resist. And just imagine yourself in that situation, notice what feelings come up, and practice telling yourself those more helpful thoughts. Do you think you could do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you see any obstacles that might get in the way of you practicing that 5 minutes a day?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.